Which is interesting considering I think the nature of a lot of society these days does tend to fixate on the turning negatives into positives without venturing forwards with the negative, like accepting turning negatives into positives, fine, but acknowledging your reality and then dealing with the nature of your reality and then being able to progress forward is really the key in my experience, at least. You can't identify solutions unless you first identify what the problems are. And I think that, again, unique in your industry, that a lot of the discourse that goes in is what's wrong with wrestling, or what's wrong with the fandom of wrestling, or what's, as opposed to, again, kind of relaying it back to the point that it's a form of entertainment. It's something we're just supposed to be enjoying. It's supposed to be a pastime and a release, rather than something that's supposed to be debated vociferously and viciously and tribally, and oh, we must relate against WWE, all for the AEW, and that sort of thing, as opposed to it being, isn't it great that 10 years ago it was just WWE from the perspective of the casual audience. Now I can introduce my little brothers who have historically never watched wrestling to WWE. They don't like WWE. Great. There's AEW. There's New Japan. There's a wealth of independent shows, to the point where my friends are now pinging me links to independent shows in England and abroad. Like, that's a good thing.
That's a great thing. It really is. And that the more we can cultivate that, and the more we can develop that, then it allows for more of a richer and broader experience for not just the fans, but for the talent that's been essentially kind of missing for quite some time. And that at the end of the day is going to benefit the fans overall even that much more, all because the talent themselves are going to be able to perform in different areas. Because even here in the States, when we had regional territorial offices, each territory and each office had their own unique approach and unique style to how to sell ultimately the one and only thing that we're selling, which is the who and the why. And how they went about that, you had to change and adapt, because audiences varied from region to region. And what worked in one region may not necessarily always work in another. And when you started to travel internationally, that worked as well. The culture, like we had talked about before the interview, the culture in England is and in regions of England are varied. Just like here in the United States, everyone operates under the premise or the notion that in the United States everyone is all exactly the same. And regions, the Northeast is completely culturally is vastly different than the Southeast. The Southeast is completely different than the Midwest or the Northeast. The Midwest is different than it is out in the Southwest or in the Northwest or in the West. Each one of these places, to the point that where you can almost, as you travel, you can identify to a certain degree genetically where people kind of come from a certain region here in the States. And that's no different than, what you in the UK, the English, and where you're so close to Europe, and, being able to go completely to separate, really varies or defines culture more than it's just the same as regionalization here in the United States. So, getting that experience, getting that opportunity to be in front of those kinds of different audiences, thanks to having different companies, just makes for much more polished and better performers.